Hi, my name is Michael Ali, and I'm on the team at Children's Cup, and I want to welcome you to our podcast. This series features pastors from some of the awesome churches that we at Children's Cup get to partner with on a regular basis. And this week we got to sit down with Pastor Matt Lacey. Matt and Jackie Lacey are the pastors of Fountain Church in Pleasanton, California, here in the San Francisco Bay Area. They are two of the biggest encouragers that you could ever meet, and they have a huge passion for reaching not only their church, but their city and the entire world. We hope you enjoy this episode.
So, Matt,
Yes,
man, thanks
sir.
for coming. Inaugural Children's Cup podcast. This is like the first we've ever done.
Man, I'm honored.
You are the man.
I'm honored.
You were chosen by God.
Yes.
And by situations and schedule.
Yes.
No, I really, when we talked about doing this, I was like, man, we got to get Matt Lacey up here to do this.
Oh man, I'm grateful I get to hang out with you for a couple of minutes.
Hey.
So anytime I could drive out here on the other side of the bay.
57-minute drive. That's what my
Yes.
phone said this morning. I was like,
Yes.
man, that's a long ways for him to come.
Oh, that's easy.
I
It's
appreciate
easy.
you coming up, man. So
Yeah.
we're like opposite corners of the bay.
We
We're
are.
we're northwest, and you're
Yep.
southeast.
We are.
But you guys got it on the border right there by you. And that blesses my heart. You have good food out there.
We do. You know, on the border.
I do know on the
Okay.
border. Oh yeah, that's our. We go to a city. We look for two restaurants on the border and Grimaldi's.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's right down the street from our
sponsored
church.
by Grimaldi's. Yeah,
Nice. It's right down the street from our church.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Michael Ali and I got to go out to your church recently. I say recently, it was about halfway through COVID.
It was.
A few months ago.
Yep.
And get to see you guys were doing church outside. You guys are. What are you doing now for church?
Yeah. So we're inside now.
Okay.
We're at the 25% capacity. We've had a lot of fun here in the Bay Area, as you know.
Yep.
And but we've done it all. We still have an outside overflow.
Okay.
So big screen TVs and comfortable setting, but we're now fully inside now.
So you do church inside 25% capacity. The people that are outside, is that by choice or is that because they're part of that 26 and up percent?
No, it's both.
Okay.
Yeah. So if they get there, it's first come first serve now. So once we hit a capacity,
Nice.
they have the opportunity for overflow or pick one of our other services. And then some people we're rehabilitating people back in the community.
Yeah.
And it's just they just feel a little bit more
What a
comfortable still
phrase.
outside.
What a phrase. We're
Yeah.
rehabilitating people back into community.
Back in the community.
Do you think it's been a year?
It has.
And like
a long
I
time.
find myself, we were watching something on TV, the other old tennis match,
Yeah.
and there's like crowds of people there. And I thought that just looks weird.
It does, man. It
Like
does.
there is a little bit of rehab going back to being next to people.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still in 2019 sometimes. I like even the thought. I mean, this year has gone by so quick, in some cases, and so slow in other cases.
Yeah.
But I mean, sometimes I'm still some of our decisions. I was talking to our accountant about our W-2s. This is kind of off topic, but I said, hey, I thought we were supposed to have like 2 W-2s because we made a transition out of our denomination. And she was like, that was 2019. I was like, okay, here we are, 2021, let's go.
It's the blip. It's
Yeah.
it's like on the Avengers. It's just the blip.
No, so much has happened.
That's so much that you don't get prepared for in ministry training, whether it's Bible school or
Right.
just coming up in church and all that. You don't really get, here's how to handle a pandemic.
Right.
Or here's even like your thing of the transition with your denomination. Nobody
Yep.
teaches how to do that.
For sure.
I got a couple questions on that. Let's talk first about
Yeah.
the transition with denomination. How
Yep.
what did that look like? You came up in that denomination your whole life, right?
We did, yeah.
So-
well, since I got saved,
Which was
pretty
when?
much.
Take me back to that.
Yeah, so I grew up in church, kind of single parent mom. She would bring us to church every Sunday, but I didn't really start following Jesus till I was about 18 years old.
Okay.
And so at that time, we were a part of our previous denomination. We're a part of that church. And so pretty much my entire church life, being involved, plugged in, was, at a denomination for
Okay,
sure.
so then you start in ministry. What took you from, okay, I'm saved now, 18 years old. What took you from that to, I want to be a pastor?
Yeah. So I ran the streets as a kid. And so being a pastor wasn't on my agenda.
Wasn't first on the list.
Yeah. And if people that know me from the past, like I'm getting ready to do a funeral coming up this next weekend. A lot of my old friends are going to be there. And to see the look on their faces every time we get into a context like that, it's still hard for them. Even though we've had several conversations, it's still hard for them to believe.
Yeah.
But so it wasn't on the agenda, got saved, and it was a simple invite, man. A buddy of mine just said, hey, would you consider coming to work with youth ministry? And in the time I thought, man, I don't really have anything to offer. I was very reclusive. So just kind of the guy with the hoodie, comfortable in the back, didn't want the front at all. And sure enough, man, I show up to a youth night and they pull me up to the front,
of course,
and grill me with a bunch of, what's your most embarrassing moment? That type of deal. And then from there, it was history. I fell in love with it.
That hooked you right there.
Yep.
You love telling your most embarrassing moment.
It was great. I don't even know what I said then, but I just knew at that point, like, God, this is what you're calling me to do. Not on that night,
right?
But as we started to get involved, I fell in love with it.
So then how long after that was it before you guys actually started Fountain Church?
So it was, we were youth pastors for about 15 years at the same
God
church.
Bless you.
Yeah. And we thought we would do it forever. We were kind of felt like dinosaurs in one sense. All my friends are planting churches. It was kind of the sexy thing to do.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to pastor students, and God started to move in our heart. So it was about 15 years in. It was 2014 that we restarted Fountain Church with a handful of people.
So let me say this for all my pastor friends, youth pastor friends, and all that idea that, hey, we just wanted to pastor young people.
Yep.
How different is it now being lead pastor versus being a youth pastor?
So we talk about this a lot. I feel like this is a little bit cliche, but I think there's some truth to it, is that I feel like I'm still a youth pastor.
I see that
just
in
with
you.
the authority of a senior pastor.
Yeah.
And so we get to help fund, we get to help resource. My wife and I, we still lead the young adult small group at our church.
Cool.
Or one of our young adult small groups. So the heart really hasn't changed. The role has shifted. And I just feel like we're able to have greater influence now across the board.
That's cool.
Over every generation.
You definitely have the youth pastor, not just the look. You look young,
sure.
you have all that, your cool factor. But
41, man.
Last time I saw you, you were in 2 casts, one on each forearm because you broke your skateboard. Now that was with your kids though, right?
It was with my kids,
Impressing your kids. But you're young, man.
Yeah. We got to say, I feel like the youth ministry was kind of the fountain of youth. It just keeps you fresh.
Is that what you call your youth ministry at church? Is Fountain of Youth?
The Fountain of Youth. That's a good point.
I went there.
That's good.
So let me ask you this: you guys have partnered with Children's Cup for a little while now. I mean, at least since for a few months. But what I've watched as your church has grown, as I've gotten to know you, and you guys are not a church that literally this past year, but figuratively, you've never been just, hey, we're just inside these 4 walls or 5 walls, whatever.
Yep.
You are very much externally focused.
Big time.
What gave you that? Why is that in your mind? Why is that part of your heart?
I think it's really part of God's heart.
I agree.
And I think within like there's this huge deep sense of love for the people of God to train up to make disciples, with the heartbeat that we go back out and reach more people. And so it keeps our hearts sensitive to, I think, to where the world is, where culture's at. It keeps us on the field. But honestly, we haven't, and this may be a surprise. Hopefully it's a surprise to you, but we haven't been great at missions overseas or outside of our context. And I didn't grow up in a church where that was a huge emphasis.
Gotcha.
So we're kind of learning right now on the journey, and God is awakened
on the how.
On the how.
Your heart of the why.
For sure.
That's what I felt is so solid, man. It's just like your messages you preach, you're not, hey, let's take care of us and don't worry about the rest. It's
right.
Us for no more kind of thing. You're
big time.
You're all about it.
Oh yeah. The heart has always been there. It's almost like, but how do we actually do something that's making an eternal difference across the globe? Yeah. And that's where this is, Children's Cup is giving us some, I don't know some tools, some resources, some understanding of, man, we can do this even as a church of our size, that we can still make a global impact. Yeah. So
I think you have, I can't wait till we get to be on the ground.
We're excited
to go see. We're going to Mexico.
Yes.
And to connect you, not just with the kids. I mean, that's going to be a blast.
Right.
But to connect you with the pastors. I've watched you at an ARC meetup. You coordinated the meetup. ARC meetup coordinators, it's like, hey, pick a time and place. Let's get everybody together. Let's go. Right. But you went the extra mile and you said, hey, I'm going to have something to provide to help these pastors with something. Something you got from Phil Klein, which is we all know he's a genius.
Yes.
You took some of this stuff, put your name on it. No, you left his name on it.
No, and I got permission. just for the record, I got permission.
But it was a one-page thing. Just give some guys some great thoughts.
Yep.
And I thought, for some, maybe they're like, yeah, great, I got that. They didn't pay attention. But some, they took that and they ate it up.
For sure.
And when we get to Mexico, one of the things I'm excited about your partnership is not just the kids, but the pastors of the churches in the community where those kids will grow up.
Right.
You're going to get to pour. That's part of your heart that I feel is there's ways to reach your community, but one great way to do it is to empower and strengthen the other pastors in your community.
Yeah.
You do that so well. So I can't wait to see that happening in Mexico too.
No, we're excited. One of the things that I love telling our church is that we're in partnership now with Children's Cup. There's still so much more territory to take and to understand and to learn. Mm-hmm. But the beautiful thing is sponsorship is great and we're all about that. And I think there's certain contexts where just a sponsorship is valid, necessary, and important. Mm-hmm. But I love that we're in partnership so we can actually go and see where we're investing and continue to invest on the ground with leaders, with pastors, with the kids, with families. That's what stirs our heart. That's what we're excited about.
That's where, to us, it's a special thing when we get to partner with a church, because the same thing, it's not just, hey, can we get some resources from this church? Right. It's, can we partner with this church? Because you have something more than the child sponsorships. Yeah. You have people who can sponsor kids. That's great. And the ministry that happens.
For sure.
But there's another layer when it's a church doing this, that you've got something these churches need. These kids are going to grow up. Right. They need a life-giving church to be a part of. And you get to help make that church a life-giving church by the investment you make in the pastors.
Big time.
This is a thought. I hadn't planned on asking you this, but this thought I've been rolling around in my head of the difference for a partner with Children's Cup, or when you partner with somebody, the difference between giving and investing.
Yes.
Okay. I've always leaned into investing being a better thing because you're getting a return on your investment. It's the kingdom return. I get all that. Yeah. But what started to stir in my heart, and I'd just love to get your thoughts on it, is there's still something to giving that you don't get a return on. Yes. Where there's no strings attached. Yep. And there's maybe even no chance I'll ever, you guys do outreaches in Pleasanton. Correct. There may be some of these people you give something to, there's not a chance they would ever come to your church. Yep. It's like giving to help fire victims up in Napa. Yeah. They're never coming to Pleasanton, coming to Fountain Church. They're not coming to Fountain Church. Now, maybe possibly they'd move their family or whatever. Right, right. But it's not about that. Yep. It's just giving because you're supposed to give. Yeah. The investment is something the supernatural you're just trusting God to tend to. But big time. I like the term invest. You want to invest in a child's life. All that. I get that. Yep. I think there's something to that, just giving, like releasing it. I have no control over it. There's no manipulation. There's no strategy to it. I'm just obeying God to give. Yes. Yeah, I think you're spot on. When we first came, we live in a very affluent area. So we're kind of an extension of Silicon Valley. Low income in our city is like $125,000. And I need to move to your city. Yeah, an apartment, just a 2-bedroom is like $3,500 a month. And so just to give you some context, so when we first came, I remember there was a homeless guy that was outside of a Trader Joe's. I was sitting there and struggling church planter, right? We have no salary at the time. And we have an offering from our previous church. It was kind of the Pastor Chris, y'all go ahead. We're going to give you an offering and y'all go ahead and figure it out. At least you got the offering. And we were grateful. No complaints at all. But I remember sitting outside of a Trader Joe's and normally I carry an extra pair of shoes with me. And there was a homeless guy, no shoes. And so I you know how the Lord starts prompting you. And so I go and look in my trunk and I have a brand new pair of gym shoes that I just bought. Didn't know they were in there. And you know that tug, they belong to this man. And so I sat in my car and wrestled. Normally I wouldn't question, but I wrestled for a minute. And then I know the voice of God. So I go in the back of my trunk, grab it and said, hey man, I got some shoes for you. And he looked like he was out of his mind, but he looked at me with clarity. I mean, crystal clear, almost so clear it took me back. And he's like, "Oh no, it's okay, man. I don't want it. I don't like shoes." And I was like, "Okay." And then I went and I put them back, and I was so stunned. I got in my car. He knocked on the window. He said, "Hey, you need to close your trunk." I was like, "Yeah, thank you, man." So I went and I closed my trunk and I sat in the car, and I felt like the Lord say, "I just want you to keep a spirit of generosity." That we live in a very, I would say that greed permeates a lot of our region. Yeah. And the way to overcome that is with good, Paul says. The way we overcome evil is with good. And so we just felt like everything we do in our city, we do with no strings attached. And it just keeps our heart right. Yeah. And we're just scattering seed. Yep.
And we're trusting that in that some's going to sprout and some may not sprout till later. A marriage is struggling and hey, we wash your clothes for free at the laundromat.
Yep.
You may consider our church. But I think there is something to just keeping a generous heart, living a generous life.
Sometimes giving's not about who you're giving it to.
It's not.
It's like so many times on a street corner, somebody's asked for something, and a lot of times I drive past, nothing prompted me, but sometimes I'm like, what's he going to do? You know, the whole question.
Right.
But like, it's not about him.
Yep.
It's about me. Do I really need that $20?
Right.
Am I going to hold on to that instead of obey?
Totally.
Man.
Yeah, I'm with you.
There is, there's obviously there's stuff to it when you tell your church we're partnering with this organization. There is the synergy you get out of that there, because there is growth that happens. And we've talked about this, but our commitment to churches is we want to see your church grow because of the partnership. That's what partnership is.
Yeah.
You and Jackie both became better people when you got married to each other. Your relationship, as it gets stronger, you're both better.
Yep.
That's how I feel like, we're not married in Fountain Church and Children's Cup, but there is a relationship that is going to strengthen each other if we do it right.
If we do it right,
it's strengthening each other.
And I think that's a cool thing for our people is they're going to be able. It's a mutual investment. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, hey, we're coming to save the day. It's more so, no, we want to come and invest, but there's also going to be a mutual investment on the other end. Mm-hmm. And so to do life together like that, I think just paints a different picture of when people think about missions. Yeah. I think it paints a different picture. And for us, it just felt like this is it for us. This is going to be a predominant. We know we can't go everywhere right now, but we can, have a key or a couple of key strategic partnerships that we're able to do life with those people. Yeah.
That's smart. All right. We got about 3-4 minutes left.
Yeah.
Give me one. I'll let you pick.
Okay.
One thing either that you are really proud that God has done in your life in ministry, done through you.
Okay.
Or one thing that you just really messed up. Just one good failure.
One good failure.
You can tell me both if you got time, whatever, but one good failure, one good win.
One good failure. Well, let me say this. I think one of the wins for us recently, one of the things I've learned during the season of COVID is if you're going to be a bridge, you're going to get walked on by both sides. Mm. And to live in that tension has been such a gift. It's been brutal and beautiful over this last season, but God has taught us a lot of living in, doing ministry in, and serving in the tension. And so I'm really proud of not just me personally, but how our church has really navigated this last year. And we're still navigating. We're still in a lot of different tension, but we definitely got walked on by both sides a lot in a lot of different contexts. But I'm really excited. That's something current. As far as a failure, if I can just be transparent with my daughters. When I think about our first 2 years of restarting the church, we had our family day. We had still some of the boundaries in place, but I don't remember a whole lot. Mm. And man, I've walked through freedom and have just kind of had to wrestle through those things. But I know at the end of the day, and I say this with all humility, I'm replaceable at the church. Mm-hmm. And so I think I'm understanding to a greater degree with my family, not lifting them up as an idol or anything crazy like that, but just I'm not replaceable there. Right. And so to be present, even in times of great busyness, a season of whatever the season may be, that is just such a focal point. Yeah. And a discipline. Yeah. At times, just to say I need to be present. I need to be focused.
You can delegate off.
I think every pastor struggles with that at some point.
You got to be the dad. You got to be the husband. Yeah. You cannot delegate that off.
And then just enjoying. I think let me say one of the failures too is I think, man, I did get on that wagon of performance, and I fight against that a lot. And so, as much as I know all the right answers, could preach probably 3 or 4 sermons, it's hard not to look across the aisle or look across and be like, man, where are we at? And live in that space of constant toil and trying to hit that next mile marker, hit that. And so now I feel like, man, I'm really enjoying time as being a son with a healthy desire to see our city reached, nation globally, and keep a healthy trajectory in my soul where I'm enjoying it.
That's one of the beautiful things about you is what you just said. It's like, I hear so many people and I get can be the heart is, hey, we want to see our church grow.
Yeah.
I get it. But really, at the end of the day, what you just said, the way you put it was, I want to see our city reached.
Yes.
That's it's a language thing, but it's a little different. It reflects a little different. And if you get too heavy on we want to see our church grow,
right, you
might be losing track of what the real competition is.
Big time.
It's the city, the lost in your city.
Yeah.
That is, dude, our word at Children's Cup for this year is beautiful.
Nice.
And I think one of the things that has made Children's Cup beautiful is you.
Wow.
And I'm not overstating or trying to just say that as a cool thing to say.
No, I hear you.
But that heart that you bring to this mix, I'm happy to have that be reflected to the kids, especially in Mexico, but all of the people watching this, that they would say, oh, that's what Children's Cup's about. You're part of this family, and you make this beautiful, not because you're just a good-looking guy, which you are, but you make it beautiful because that heart.
I need a beard now, man.
Is how you want to see your city reached. You want to see people go to heaven. That's the most beautiful thing, because God's image defines beauty. And so you're reflecting his image there's no greater way to reflect his image than to say, I want to see people get to heaven.
Right.
So, man, thank you for coming and
being
candid, being honest, and hanging out. And
no, man, I love you so much.
You're an encourager like crazy.
Yeah, you've been a key part of our journey, man. And you have helped us not be an island.
Well, I just want more people
not
to
just
get
over
to know
this
you.
last year, but just over our journey over the last 6 years, getting connected with ARC, and it's been an amazing journey, man.
Likewise,
love you so much.
The same, man. Love you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of our podcast. If you'd like more information about Children's Cup, you can go to our website at childrenscup.org, or you can follow us on Instagram.